Hey everyone, Alexa here from the blog, Duvallhomestead.com. Today I'm joined by my husband John, and he's going to talk about a very exciting project. We are standing out in our backyard patio area, and we have totally redone it over the past 6 months or so. And while the process should have been very easy, we just wanted to get a new deck and a cover. We encountered several issues along the way that we figured out how to solve. So we thought it would be a good idea to share how to solve those issues with you all in case you encounter them too. And it will be pretty exciting if you follow along this channel because I'll be sharing updates every single week about this patio, and then you'll get to see the finished product. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to repair damaged siding. So this siding behind me is in our backyard. So we removed our back deck entirely. It was very dilapidated. There were nails sticking out. It was falling apart. It was a huge mess. So our first step was removing that deck. Now, once we got the deck removed, we looked at the siding on the side of our house, and it was totally ruined. And I'm going to pass this over to John to describe what happened and our approach to how we were going to fix it.
Yeah, so the previous homeowners had a deck that was right up next to the house. They just put the deck right up next to the house, and they didn't put any flashing on it, so there was no room for air to vent, and so it just started to degrade the cement board siding. The problem was that the water had nowhere to go. The water just penetrated the hardy board and got behind the wall. And we didn't really see this happen because the deck was covering it all up. Same with the trim around the door. The trim was installed, but they never put flashing on the top of the back door. And so water just was going down through the caulk and getting behind onto the exterior sheeting and just degrading the wood. So it needed to be fixed because it was a great environment for rot. We got some rotting that happened. The previous homeowners had a deck right up next to our house, and they didn't put any flashing, any of that stuff. They just put the deck right up next to the siding, and the problem with that is the water had nowhere to go, and so it was wood on hardy board, and it just penetrated the hardy board, made it pulverized, got back behind the wall, and you can see on the corners. The thing that the homeowners didn't do before us was they installed this trim up here,
nice.
right? And they didn't install any flashing on top of the trim, and because of that, water seeps down these seams right here, and it started to rot away over here. And we couldn't see it because the deck was hiding it all. Now we're going to probably do some wood hardener on the wood there. We're going to lift the tar paper up a little bit more so we can get a look at the extent of the damage. If it's not too bad, we'll get some wood hardener. Put some wood hardener there to stop the rot and prevent it from degrading even further. A trim on the door. They installed this trim trying to be fancy, and they didn't put a flashing on top of the trim. And what happens is when it rains, the water follows the path of least resistance. And so we'll follow the seam right here. Yeah. This is all sealed, but the caulking here eventually wore down, and it just pulverized that.
Oh man.
We ended up going, I think, 5 or 6 boards up. We got several wood shims to go underneath the board that we were going to be taking out. And then you just wiggle the hardy board a little bit and score the caulk on the side, so that there's caulk on the side over here, and you just score that with a knife, and you wiggle the hardy board, and it just pulls right out. It's kind of like cardboard, pulled down and away from the house. And then you repeat this process with all the boards that you need to remove. Then you need to mark the spot on where the nails are nailing into the hardy board on the exterior sheathing by the wrap, the house wrap. You need to do this with a chalk line in order to make sure you know where the wood studs are. Then you need to remove all visible screws and nails from the exposed wrap and / exterior sheathing. Make sure you have a smooth surface. It's got an indexing head. This is how I use this one tool to demolish our entire deck. So the head indexes, which allows for good leverage.
Okay.
So
got it.
I'm going to use that to get these nails off.
Oh wow, yeah, those are some big nails.
Then you need to inspect the Tyvek and the house wrap to make sure that there's no damage. If you need to, and we needed to do this, we need to replace the wrap. And so what you do is make sure that the wrap that you're replacing goes under the existing wrap, so water has an easy path to go past of the existing wrap over the new wrap. And then tape all ends and cuts, and then any areas that you need to tape. There's a special tape that you can use. I had to replace these vents down here.
Oh yeah, the vent.
Yeah, the vents were all demolished, and so the easiest way to do that is just get some cedar board, 1 inch by 3/4 inch, really small. You can get it at Home Depot.
DIY vents, basically.
Yeah, and just I like used a brad nailer and like cut the dimensions up, angled the vents, and then used the existing screens on the back, and it was like maybe like a couple bucks to do that. We got these things called gecko gauge, and what they do is they allow you to install siding really efficiently. And so what you'll do is you'll install the gecko gauge, and it's just a pressure like holder on either side, and you do that for the length of the siding board that you're going to replace. And what it allows you to do is you can lift the siding and put it on the gecko gauge, which acts as another set of hands, and it puts it at just the right dimensions in order for you to like nail it. So we Tyvek'd, flashed everything, put a new water vapor barrier, replaced the outlet cover, and we started replacing the vents because they were all rotted out. So we got new cedar wood for the vents and replaced those. And we had to do some precision cuts around the mason board. So we're still going to be trimming this up. But we got this nifty tool called the gecko gauge, which allows us to hang siding and leave it, which is like, I would definitely not recommend doing this without this specific jig, because it allows you to set the siding board and work and hit the holes without having to have someone there holding it and making sure it's level. The thing is a lot of the instructions said to use a angle grinder. We tried using the angle grinder and we felt that it really didn't give straight enough cuts, and there was a lot of dust. So pro tip, just get a carbonite blade for your jigsaw, and there'll be minimal dust, and it's only $6 for as long as you have a jigsaw. So once the siding is on, or the hardy board is on the gecko gauge, then you need to nail or screw, and what we use is cement screws. And this is when marking the areas for the studs comes really in handy, because then you can just screw directly on where that lie is. So we use cement board screws, and then maybe went down like a 1/4 inch or an inch away from the top. What you need to make sure is just there's enough room for the next board to overhang. So it's called blind nailing, and so it's overhanging, and so it'll cover up. You won't see any nails or screws on the siding at all. Patching it with fiber cement screws. Some people said to use nails, but we felt like for small repairs like this, the screws are a little bit more secure, and it allows us more flexibility on where we're going to be placing them. So we're using fiber cement screws, you can see down there, on every stud. And we're using 1 1/4 inch number 8 fiber cement screws, and trying to get them countersunk to get them flush. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bit extender. What it allows you to do is, we have some pictures of us on this last piece here. You're going to have to shim the board and kind of pull it away from the wall in order to get up underneath. We're blind nailing this, which means that the next board is covering the nails of the one below it, which allows water to run off, and so you don't see nail finishes at all.
Oh,
but
nice.
Because of that, we have to lift this up and get our screwdriver and screw under here. And so you're going to need a bit extender. This is $8 at Home Depot. You can buy this. It's just an extension for your screwdriver, and it allows you to get up under the siding. So what we're using for shimming is we're using wood pieces and shimming it under to give us some clearance to get up under for that last piece of board. This really helps if you have some wood shims that you can wedge up underneath to give you some distance to get your drill bit up in there. And so I did that for every board up until the top. The other pro tip I would say is this is a speed square. What you can use the speed square for is if you're going to be doing precision cuts to get super straight, which is what you want, you clamp the speed square down, right? And this is super helpful. It's only like $10 at Home Depot. But in addition to being a measurement tool, you can clamp it down and use it as a sled for your jigsaw to get straight cuts. So the blade guard of the jigsaw just goes up against the speed square, and you clamp that down. It allows you to get a complete straight cut with one pass. This is the blade we're using. It's a carbide tip blade. You can see carbide tip. And then after it was complete, I used latex caulk, not silicone caulk. Silicone caulk will eat away at the cement board. If you use latex caulk, it expands and contracts with the seasons, and it's actually like good for using on hardy board from what I've heard. And so caulked everything up. When you're caulking, it's good to just lay a bead of caulk and then dip your hand in some water, and then use your finger to go along the caulk line. And then wait a couple hours, and then applied some exterior paint. And then to match it with the house, and then that's pretty much it.
how much did it cost? How much did the guy quote you? Because you had someone come out and ask.
So I had a company come out to look at the siding, and the guy came out and tried to upsell us on like replacing the whole house, and I told him we couldn't do that because it was really expensive. And then he said, all right, well, we'll just do one side of the house. And I was like, how much is that going to be? He's like, $30,000. And I was like, no. And so I would say
we spent not $30,000.
Yeah, we spent, I think it was like a couple $100 total. Most expensive stuff was the hardy board siding, and when you're cutting that, I recommend you're gonna see a lot of stuff people saying use angle grinder and use a special type of saw blade. Don't do that. Just get a jigsaw blade. It's a carbide cement board jigsaw blade, and you'll have less dust, and you won't need to use you should use a respirator, but you can use a mask. You don't have to worry about a bunch of dust flying up. We tried using an angle grinder, and the angle grinder sucks because it kicks up a lot of dust and it's not very efficient. So don't use an angle grinder, use a jigsaw. That's my pro tip on this video. Use a jigsaw. You'll thank me later. Make sure it's a carbide jigsaw blade, approved for cement board siding.
And is this a two-person job? Because you had my dad help.
Yeah, it's a two-person job. What I would say is you probably could do it one person with the gecko gauges, but having a second person is pretty helpful. With the gecko gauges, it allows you to be able to do it with one person. But I would say do it with two people, just because the cement board is not very forgiving. When you're going to pick it up, I had a couple boards snap in half, especially if it's super long, it'll sag. And so when you're picking up the cement board, it's like picking up a mattress. It's like really awkward. So just make sure that when you're picking up the cement board, and if it's super long, don't snap it.
And it took you how long with two people?
2 weekends.
2 weends. So it was like 4 hours per weekend maybe?
Yeah. Well, the hardest part for us was because we didn't know what we were doing, so hopefully you can use this video and know now.
There you go.
Because I tried looking on Google and there were no videos at all. I mean, there was a couple of videos. Some guy did some siding job in North Carolina that was like really helpful.
So there was like limited
he used screws,
information.
but like it was limited information, and we had to like find out about like how to like repair wrapping for a house. And then also too, like pro tip, nobody sells Tyvek wrap in like really small dimensions. So if you do have to like look underneath your house and the wrapping is like demolished, you're gonna have to buy like a 75-foot roll of Tyvek, and it's gonna be like $65 at like Lowe's. So maybe look on Facebook Marketplace and see if anybody has any extra. I had to replace the outlet plug over there.
Outlet.
But like overall, super happy with the way it turned out. Have to probably recaulk a little bit when it comes to like springtime, because I've noticed a few areas that we could probably go over again, but we saved like thousands of dollars by just going and doing this ourselves.
All right, well, thank you so much, John, for explaining how to replace damaged siding. There will be a blog post on the blog, theduvallhomestead.com soon, if not by the time this video is posted. So just come back if it's not linked yet, with more details as well as the tools we used and links to appropriate tools if you're looking for help with that. Make sure you stay tuned for the next video. It's going to show you our next step in our patio remodel. I'm very, very excited to show you. If you're brand new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Every week I normally post farm to table recipes, healthy from scratch cooking, a little bit of motherhood, and of course homesteading here at our little homestead. And of course DIY projects, which are mostly driven by my husband. So thank you so much, John. By doing it ourselves.
By doing it ourselves.
Saved thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves.
Thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves. Thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves.
One more time.
We saved thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves.